Hi, my dear students and my dear colleagues. In this video, let's know what happens when Cassius and Casca speak to one another in Act 1, Scene 3. In my previous video, I have talked about the meeting between Casca and Cicero, and I have also talked about how Casca is scared of the superstitious and supernatural happenings in Rome. Okay. Now let us see how Cassius speaks to Casca and how Cassius cleverly uses Casca's superstitious fears to his advantage, to his profit, as it were. Now, please open your textbooks. Keep your textbook ready with you, my dear students and colleagues. Enter Cassius. And I've told you, Cassius is very closely following Casca that night. Perhaps, I don't know, perhaps Cassius has overheard the conversation between Casca and Cicero. And when Cicero departs, Cassius starts following Casca because he wants to use Casca's these superstitious fears to his profit, okay, and change him into a conspirator against Julius Caesar. Who is there? Cassius. Look at this. Cassius knows that there is Casca, but still he pretends as if that meeting is very accidental, very, it happened very unknowingly, unaware of Cassius. Cassius, who is there? And Casca says, I am a Roman, because they have all closed their faces with their cloak, with their robes. And Casca has drawn his sword and he is scared of the terrible night. And suddenly, when Cassius asks, who is there? Casca says, a Roman. Then Cassius, as if he has identified Casca's spies. I told you, Cassius is following Casca. He's a very clever and cunning fellow, as is very beautifully described by, Caesar in the previous scene. Cassius, Casca, by your voice? Then Casca says, oh, your ear is scared. Then he talks about the terrible happenings. He says, oh, Cassius, what night is this? Oh, Cassius, what night is this? He is scared of this stormy night, Then Cassius says, you want me to tell you what sort of a night this is? It is a pleasing night to honest men. To honest men, this night is very pleasing, very delightful night, he says. And Casca is shocked. Casca is still fearful. He says, whoever knew the heavens, mene so. Who knows why the skies and the heavens are so angry with the people on earth? Whoever knew the heavens, mene so. Who knows why heavens are menacing, means expressing their, threatening warning to the people of Rome. In a way, heavens are threatening the people that they are going to destroy the Romans. Why? We don't know. And Cassius gives his own reason why gods are angry. He tells Casca, gods are angry because people are keeping quiet and allowing a weak man to become as terrible as the night they have been experiencing that particular night. Okay, that stormy night. Caesar is, roaring, growling, Caesar is thundering like these terrible happenings on that particular night. And Caesar is not a great man according to Cassius. He says, Caesar a weak man. He's like you, Casca. He's like me. But still he is prodigious grown. But he has grown out of proportions. He's growing like a colossus. And when Caesar becomes a dictator, he would grow into a huge colossus, and people would become petty men. People would become his slaves. This is what Cassius had told Brutus in the previous scene. Cassius had said, "Why, man, he doth bestride this narrow world like a colossus, and we petty men walk under his huge legs to peep about to find ourselves dishonorable graves." He had said the same thing. He repeats here, but in a different tone, in a different way, with a different voice. Cassius says, when Casca asks him, "Whoever knew the heavens menace so?" Who knows why heavens are angry with the people of Rome? Cassius says, those that have known the earth so full of faults. He says, people know why heavens are angry with the Romans, and those people who know that the earth is full of faults. People who know that the earth is full of faults know why gods are angry with the people of Rome. You got me? Then he says, for my part, look at Casca's attitude to the stormy night, and look at Cassius's attitude. Casca's attitude is one who is terribly afraid, terribly scared, and Casca has completely covered his body. He has drawn his sword, and look at his face. His face looks very dull, pale and fearful. Look at Cassius. Look at Cassius's attitude. In his own words, let us see how Cassius has responded to the terrible storm that has taken place on that particular night. He says, Cassius says, for my part, I have walked about the streets. I am not as scared as you are, my dear Cassius. I walked about the streets, he says. I'll read out the entire passage, try to follow it very closely, dear friends. He says, for my part, I walked about the streets, and I have submitted myself unto this perilous night. Thus, unpraised Casca, as you see, I have bared my bosom to the thunderstorm. And when the cross blue lightning seemed to open the breast of heaven, I did present myself even in the aim and very flash of it. Look at how Cassius responds to this stormy night. He says, for my part, I have walked about the streets. I have openly walked about the streets, thereby submitting myself. I've exposed myself to the terrible storm. I want to challenge nature, what it could do to me. I'm not scared of whatever is happening in nature, he says. So Cassius speaks like a practical man. A man who is not afraid of these things. A man who knows why gods are angry. Why gods are causing all these disturbances in nature, especially in Rome. He says, for my part, I have walked about the streets, exposing myself, submitting myself unto this deadly night, perilous night, stormy night, the terrible night wherein winds are, howling very strongly, blowing very strongly, wherein lightning is striking the earth, tempests dropping fire, to quote Casca's words. For my part, I walked about the streets, submitting me unto the perilous night. And then he shows Casca how he has bared his bosom. He says, and thus unbraced Cascas, you see, I have, opened my, bracelet, and I have exposed my chest to the cold winter, cold, strong winds. I bared my bosom to the thunderstorm. I've exposed my bosom, naked bosom, to the thunderstorm. What does it mean by thunderstorm? That lightning that is striking Rome every now and then because of those heavy rains and heavy thunders, He says, I bared my bosom to the thunderstorm. And he says, when the cross blue lightning seemed to open the breast of heaven. Look at the poetry of Shakespeare. That's why one of our professors, when I was doing my post-graduation in English, he was saying, every word of Shakespeare is a poem by itself. Shakespeare was so poetic, Shakespeare is my spiritual guru, let me tell you, my dear friends. And Shakespeare is the greatest communicator of the English language in the whole of the world, let me tell you. Look at the poetry, look at this poetry in Shakespeare's, in Cassius's words. He says, and when cross blue lightning, see, when there is lightning, you can see lightning going in a zigzag way in the sky during nights, Lightning in Kannada has two meanings, dear friends. Let me use Kannada very judiciously. Lightning could be minchu, lightning could be sidlu. This English word lightning has two different meanings in Kannada. One is minchu, the other one is sidilu. Understood? So that sky is minching, and also there is sidlu that is falling upon the earth. That's why he says, when the cross blue lightning, the lightning which crosses the sky in a zigzag way, when that lightning seemed to open the breast of heaven. Look at this. When there is lightning, it appears as if the sky's breast opens up and the lightning striking the earth. And here once again you find personification being used. So beautiful poetry, such beautiful poetry you find here. I'll repeat the lines. And thus unbraced Casca, as you see, I have bared my bosom to the thunderstorm, and when the cross blue lightning seemed to open the breast of heaven, the lightning breaks open the breast of heaven to strike the earth. Lightning really? Sidlu. When the cross blue lightning seemed to open the breast of heaven, when that happened, when the lightning was about to strike the earth, Cassius, do you know what Cassius did? I did present myself. I did expose my bosom, even in the aim and very flash of it. I was challenging the lightning to strike me and kill me first. Because Cassius doesn't want to live in Rome, which is, unnecessarily giving, undue importance to Caesar and unnecessarily allowing him to grow into a powerful dictator by crowning him a king. That's why he says, when the cross blue lightning seemed to open the breast of heaven, I did present myself even in the aim and very flash of it. I stood and I was challenging the lightning to strike my bosom and kill me. That means that Cassius is not afraid of nature's fury. Because Cassius says, it is a pleasing night to honest men like Cassius. Cassius seems to tell Casca that I am an honest man, so why should I be afraid of whatever is happening in Rome? You are not honest, Casca. That's why you are scared of all these terrible happenings. I am not scared. I am ready to tempt the heavens to kill me. So Cassius is challenging nature here. It's all cunning nature of Cassius, let me tell you friends, just to trap Casca, just to use Casca's superstitious fears and make him believe that honest people are not afraid of these terrible storms. And thereby, transforming Casca into a conspirator to assassinate Caesar. Then Casca, look at Casca, he's still scared. He says, oh, but wherefore did you so much tempt the heavens? Oh, my dear Cassius, why are you tempting heaven so much? Why are you making gods angry by challenging gods? By exposing your bosom? To challenge, you are challenging gods to strike you with lightning. Don't do that. When gods are angry, it is the duty of human beings to put their head down and be very submissive to gods. Not challenge gods, Look at Casca. I'll read out Casca's speech. Try to closely follow every line of Casca. Casca says, oh, but wherefore did you so much tempt the heavens? It is the part of men to fear and tremble when the most mighty gods by tokens send such dreadful heralds to astonish us. When gods, to shock us, gods by tokens, in installments. Every now and then, gods show their anger upon men by, by dropping such fires, by making us see such unnatural sights. And it is the part of men just to fear and tremble, not challenge gods, as you are doing, my dear Cassius, says Casca. But wherefore did you so much tempt the heavens? It is the part of men to fear. It is the moral duty part. It is the moral duty of men to fear and tremble. When the most mighty gods are most mighty. They are the strongest ones when compared to we, the mortals. Gods are immortal, whereas human beings are only immortals. Mortals are one who die at the end of the day, And gods don't have death. That's why gods are called immortal. That's why there is a saying, our body is mortal, and our soul is immortal. So it is the part of men to fear and tremble when the most mighty gods, by tokens, by way of these sights, these unnatural sights and these terrible disturbances in nature, they send such dreadful heralds, such dreadful, dangerous heralds are omens, these unnatural happenings to astonish us, to shock us. when they send such deadly things to shock us, it is the moral duty of men to fear and tremble, not challenge gods. When you challenge gods, you are tempting gods to become angrier and angrier, and they will destroy the world. My dear Cassius, beware of it. When God show their anger, it is the duty of men to fear and tremble and to be submissive, To that Cassius very practically says, oh, you are a fool, man. Cassius says, oh, Casca, you are dull. You are dull, Casca. And those sparks of life that should be in a Roman, you do want, or else you use not. Look at the way Cassius is tempting Casca. Casca's honesty. He said, oh, Casca, you are dull, man. And those sparks of life that should be in a Roman. What are those sparks of life? Every Roman must be active and dynamic when it comes to Rome coming under one man's rule. That is what Cassius had said to Brutus about the great flood. He says, when went there by an age since the great flood that Rome was ruled more than with one man, he had said. So far, Rome hasn't seen one man ruling the entire empire. At first, Roman Empire was shared among the 3 Roman generals. You remember, my dear friends, Roman Empire was shared among Pompey, Julius Caesar, and Crassus. Now you have only one single man, that is Julius Caesar. And his supporters are trying their best to crown him the king. And if he becomes a king, the Roman Empire will have one man to rule, which the people of Rome don't like. Don't like it to happen, So far, Rome hasn't had a single man ruling them. Now the time has come for Julius Caesar to become that single man to rule over Romans. That's why he says, you are dull. And those sparks of life, that rebelling spirit of Roman. When there is injustice, a Roman has always rebelled against it. That is the spark which every Roman has. And he also talks about how their ancestors were. Their ancestors were very, very, very protesting, and they were very, very, powerful to protest against any injustice that was about to happen to them. But here Cassius says, Casca perhaps doesn't have the spark of life that a Roman is supposed to have. Or if he has it, perhaps Casca is not using it, keeping his mouth shut. Both are not correct according to Cassius. If a man is passive, it is an unpardonable mistake. And if a man is active, and still if he keeps quiet without being active, it is once again an unpardonable mistake. This is what Cassius wants to tell Casca. Oh, you are dull, Casca. Those sparks of life that should be in every Roman, you do want. Want means you don't have, you lack. You do want means you lack it, so you want to have it. Perhaps you don't have it, or else you have it and you use it not. You are not ready to use it. You are scared of something. And both are unpardonable according to Cassius. And those sparks of life that should be in a Roman, you do want, or else you use not. Because look at your face, Casca. Look, how, foolish you look like. You look pale. You look pale and gaze and put on fear. You look pale. This is how Cassius is describing Casca's visage, face, countenance as it were. He says, you look pale, you gaze, and you put on fear, and you cast yourself in wonder. Wonder is here shock. You appear to be shocked. You put on fear. You look pale. You look dull. And a Roman who has this spark of life doesn't behave like this. And you are behaving like a non-Roman, let me tell you. Let me have this poetic diction of using the word, the expression, a non-Roman, You look pale and gaze and put on fear and cast yourself in wonder. Why the hell are you doing all these things? To see the terrible storm. To see the strange sights that you have seen. Instead of understanding why such terrible happenings are happening, you are unnecessarily, unreasonably afraid of these things. You are not using your logical bent of mind to understand why such things are happening. You are blindly scared of these things. That's what Cassius wants to put it across to Casca. He says, you put on fear, you cast yourself in wonder. Why? To see the strange impatience of the heavens, To see the strange impatience of the heavens. The sky is disturbed. The earth is disturbed with terrible happenings, with tempests, with heavy rains, with lightning striking the earth. And these are strange impatience of heavens. To see these things, you are simply looking dull, pale, and gaze and cast yourself in wonder and fear. Instead of reasoning out why such things are happening. And I'll tell you. And you should consider the true cause of these happenings. You, instead of thinking about the true cause, you are unnecessarily afraid of these things and you are shaking and trembling. And you tell me that gods are angry and people should tremble and put on fear. You are a fool, Casca says. I'll repeat the lines. He says, oh, Casca, you look pale and gaze. I'll read out the entire passage. Try to closely follow every line. And after that, I will interpret every line in the simplest way possible. You look pale and gaze and put on fear and cast yourself in wonder to see the strange impatience of the heavens. But if you would consider the true cause, why all these fires? Why all these gliding coasts? Why birds and beasts from quality and kind? Why old men fool and children calculate? Why all these things change from their ordinance, their natures and preformed faculties to monstrous quality? Why, you shall find that heavens hath infused them with these spirits to make them instruments of fear and warning unto some monstrous state that is waiting to happen to Romans. Now could I, Casca, name to thee a man most like to this dreadful night that thunders, lightens, opens graves and roars as doth the lion in the Capitol. A man no mightier than thyself or me in personal action, yet prodigious grown and fearful as these strange eruptions of